This is something I haven't done in a long time. I used to do, just showing the age of my channel, is entering mid 20s, for example. I haven't really talked about my age, like aging, my expectations, my thoughts on it, since my 20s, I guess. I didn't really do it much in my 30s. I had kind of a traumatic 30s, but now that my 30s are coming to a close, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on not just my 30s, but what I anticipate from my 40s, hopefully. Um, First of all, one big lesson I learned is that there are no people that you can trust, even when you think that you have a friend and this is your best friend in the whole wide world, right? Uh, that person, I, don't, I hate to say that you can't trust anybody, because I do think there are people in my life that I met in the workplace that I am still friends with, despite not being where I met them anymore. But funny enough, I think the people that I'm still friends with that I've met at work were people that left that place before I did. Um, because I have no problems continuing to be friends with people at work. I'm a real true friend to people. Um, but you really, when it comes to working with others and having a friendship with them, you can't trust anybody. Anybody. And that's really sad, because when you work, especially when you're working in person, the people you work with are the people that you spend a majority of your time with sometimes. And to think that the people you see more than anybody else are the people that you should trust the least is the saddest. But I had a very traumatic situation years ago, and it made me never want to work in an office again, never want to work closely with someone else again, and never to develop a friendship with anyone. And I have friends that I've met at work, but it's just too much a possibility. And believe me, you may be watching this and thinking to yourself, I absolutely trust insert person. And you may. And it's possible that that person would never do anything to hurt you, and they would never cross any lines, and they would never do anything against you, at work wise or personally. And I'd like to believe that that's true, that there are people that are that way. I am that way. But you never know. You never know for sure who you're dealing with. I wish there was a litmus test where you could find out, but it's impossible to know. And you'll never know until you know, until you find out, and you find out the hard way. So I have learned really, and it's funny because when I was in my early 20s, there was a girl I worked with uh, when I worked at Dairy Queen in college, and she was very, very much a keep to yourself type of person. She's from Guatemala, but she just seems she was fun. She was funny to work with, but she did not want to be friends, and I didn't understand that at the time. I'm like, we get along. Well, it took a long time before we got along decently. She's a hard uh, pill to crack, but but one time my ex and I, we were taking her home, and he worked with us too, and we were like, hey, we should hang out sometime. I thought we had crossed like a bridge with her, like things are gonna be friendly now. So we should hang out sometime. She was like, no, absolutely not. Very, like, that was it. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't understand it then. I understand it now, and I've never tried since to make friends with anybody that I work with. I do everything I can to keep a distance. Now, maybe in my 40s, that viewpoint will change, but it affected me so deeply that I don't even want to make friends in any way, shape, or form. Like, I know, and that's not the best. So, one, friends. don't make friends at work. That was a long-winded way of saying don't make friends at work. Um, Something else I learned: travel is invaluable. I didn't really travel in my 20s, not really traveling. I didn't have the funds and I didn't have the time. I was in college most of my 20s, and I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I didn't have the ability. I didn't have a passport, um, and things are different now. You know, the world has a lot more flexibility in the way to make money, and which is a beautiful thing. But traveling doesn't have to be. I used to think traveling was like so expensive. Like in order to do anything, I'd have to have so much money. And a lot of people feel that way. Like, I can't travel. I can't do anything because everything's expensive. And things are not the greatest right now anyway. But one big positive is it doesn't take a whole lot to travel. In 2017, I did a year of travel where every month I went somewhere different. Sometimes that place was just an overnight, one night there and back. Sometimes it was a lot bigger of a trip. I got on an airplane. Sometimes I went I went overseas once. So but my goal in doing that is to see things. You don't have to go far to see things. You don't have to spend a lot of money to see things. In fact, most places have a lot of free things you can do. All it takes is looking up. I mean, I just discovered the library has like a ton of random, interesting things going on at all times these days, which is awesome. I'm glad they're doing that. But anyway, there's so many things you can do with no budget. And of course, I know that transportation is a thing, and you have to be able to have the time and that stuff. But I was able to travel more and see things and get a different perspective on traveling, get an idea that I don't have to go far. There's so much nearby. And even in my home state, I'm living in Texas currently. I'm from Georgia. And there was so much in Georgia that I hadn't seen and I hadn't even thought about. Thank goodness for the internet. The internet, it's so much easier to find things now than it was perhaps in my 20s, my early 20s when I was not traveling anywhere. Of course, like I said, money does, you may not need a lot of money, but you need some money to get around. I understand that. But if you take the time to look around, there's probably so much nearby within a short driving distance that you can discover. So those are two big things. And the third thing I think that I learned in my 30s is the desperate need for multiple sources of revenue. I used to think, go to college, graduate, get a job in an office, and then, I'm good, right? Like, that's the idea. You have an office, or you have a job, and it's regular, and you're on a salary, and then, over time, you make more money, and you get more things, and then life just is an upward projection at that point. Well, that's the idea. But the reality is, money can be so easily scarce. If you have a job and you are dedicated to that job, I was working at a place and I was a workaholic when I was there. I was accessible 24 hours a day. My boss made sure of that. And there were no such thing as holidays. There were no such thing as weekends or off time. I was always, anyway, it was a whole thing. And you can pour your everything into a company, and that fast, you're gone. You don't build equity in a workplace. And any company that says to you, We're a family here. Run. Run. It's the advice I'd give myself. Run. Start looking for another job when they start piling onto you. And don't tell places about skills that you have that aren't outside of the range of what you're hired for, unless you really love that company and you're really trying to move up and you see an upward projection, because not every company has that. No matter what kind of company they are, no matter how long they've been around, no matter how corporate they are, not every company can you move up in. And if they find out that you have a skill that they need, sure, you could use it as an opportunity to negotiate a higher salary, but I wouldn't count on it. If they know you can do it, they will use you for it as much as humanly possible. Unless you are someone who can say, no, not unless you pay me more, and then that's a whole other thing. I've never been that person. I've been a dedicate my life to the job, and then you get disposed of so quickly. So it really makes a big difference, because if that job lets you go, that's where you were getting your money from, it's gone. And then it's gone until you find something else. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter if you have a degree, it doesn't matter how much experience you have. Finding something else can be very, very difficult, no matter how competitive of an employee you are. Unfortunately, that's just, the situation. And hopefully you have a savings, but that won't last forever either. So no matter how stable you feel you are in your job, no matter how comfortable you are with the people you work with, get at least one additional source of income in case something happens, and you never know when it will. You have at least something there to catch you. Even if it's just a little bit, something. Every little bit helps. So those are the three things that I think I would say, three of the things, many things I learned in my 30s. 1, don't make friends at work. 2, explore near and far when possible. And 3, find multiple sources of revenue. Even if it's just one more than your job, find some way. Even if it's not something you keep up on a regular basis, have some sort of skill or product or something that you can make money on the side, to accumulate your savings, or in case of an emergency. I remember in high school, I had a cosmetology teacher, and she was talking about if something were to happen and everybody at the school was out of their teaching job, she could still find work because she had an additional skill. She wasn't just a teacher, she could also do hair and nails. And most of the other teachers didn't have that. I have another skill they could fall back on in case of emergency. So that's definitely something to think about. Now, for my 40s, what am I expecting? I went and looked at my old video where I was saying I was in my mid-20s, and I was looking at, in the next several years or so, the thought of getting to that point where I could buy a house. Yeah, I'm still not there. I am hoping, as a millennial, this isn't uncommon, unfortunately. Life happens, and economy happens, and jobs happen, and then they don't happen, and anyway, and then pandemics happen that you weren't expecting. But yeah, I would like to, hopefully in my 40s, get to a much better financial place where I can do that. Although my area where I'm at right now in Fort Worth has priced me out. I lived here for years and I could afford it fine, and then not anymore. So I'm not sure. It's another thing. Always have pets. Anyway, this is Tom. But okay, so what else am I looking forward to in my 40s? Well, one big development is I'm a mother now, so I'm hoping maybe to have another one. in a few years. Of course, that's something you don't know about either. You don't know if it's possible until you know that it's possible because it's happening. So, yeah. Uh, and other things I'm looking forward to in my 40s. I'd like to finally accomplish the physical that I've always wanted. I tried in my 30s multiple times. Um, I don't know. I have an idea. I would get, you know. Anyway, so I'm hoping to just finally achieve that. I'm hoping for positive things, just to be in a better mindset and care less about some things, more about others. Maybe, maybe I'll feel differently about friendship in my 40s. Maybe I'll need to. I feel like I'll be forced to make friends because I have a son who seems so far to be an extrovert, and I'm not. But he's just a few days shy of 8 months. So, but he's outgoing so far. But I guess probably all babies are. So what else? What else will my 40s bring? I don't know. Maybe I should make another with thoughts on that. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. So hopefully 40s will be even better than the 30s.